Faith House is a private, nonprofit organization serving survivors of domestic violence and their children. At a time when people ignored what happened to women, Faith House recognized this problem and reached out to the community with both hands. From its humble beginnings, the foundation of Faith House was and remains its staff, board of directors, and volunteers. People who wanted to be a part of something greater. People whose hearts were full of compassion and servitude and wanted to make a difference in the lives of our women and children faced with domestic abuse. In the early 90s, Faith House quickly outgrew the existing shelter capacity of only 28 beds. No one was turned away who was in grave danger, and often had women and children sleeping on sofas and sleeping bags. A need for a new and bigger shelter was identified. The board president contacted a very dedicated volunteer activist, Sarah Citron, and brought her to inspect the existing shelter. After the tour, Sarah enthusiastically took on this fundraising project. She called 10 friends and asked each one of those friends to tap 10 more of their friends, and Women Helping Women was formed. Mary Sanders, this year's Woman of the Year, was one of these Women Helping Women. Working tirelessly selling dollar tickets, Mary helped raise $300,000.
And when I look back on it now, I can't hardly imagine that the small group of women sold 300,000 $1 raffle tickets over a 3-year period. And we did this because we knew that there was a need for a new shelter. So we started, and we just kept persevering till we raised $300,000.
Once the initial amount was raised, Matt Steller stepped in and recognized the need and was moved by the enthusiasm and perseverance of these women raising money and funded the construction of the new shelter, which exists today. On Christmas Eve, 1998, the new shelter opened, ready to provide the women and children of Acadiana with a safe refuge. Over the years, Mary so unselfishly gave of her time and resources to work toward giving women a safe place to go to rebuild their lives free from fear and abuse.
Someone had to help them. They had to help them and their children. They've suffered so much, but then you also listen to the good part. They say how much Faith House has helped them. If it hadn't been for Faith House, they might not be alive today. And those stories have just really, really inspired me over the years.
Last year in Lafayette, Faith House served more than 2,000 women and children in our shelter and our outreach offices. It continues to be a severe problem in our community, and we're so fortunate that Faith House is here to help. Each of the women and children that come through our doors, we're able to give them a little hope, give them some of the things that they need, and help them to improve their lives. People are so important to us. Our volunteers are truly the heart of our program, and they've assisted us to be able to provide all these services to the women and children. They do all of the work in our program that our staff is unable to do, and help these women as they recreate their lives. They are truly valuable to us.
Since 1995, Mary has served the Faith House in so many capacities.
Mary Sanders is genuinely a woman to be admired by many, many women, especially the prior queens.
For the past 10 years, Faith House has selected and honored a woman in the community for the work that she has done for women and children.
Most domestic abuse situations are handed down from family to family. The children learn it from their parents. They think it's a normal way of life. What we try to do here at Faith House, and which I really believe is a great mission of Faith House, is to teach those children that living in fear and living with abuse is not a normal way of life. That is the only way that we can break this cycle, and for the cycle of abuse to end is to teach the children that there's another way of life, and Faith House does that.
Mary exemplifies servitude, and her compassion for women in need is never ending. Her dedication shows in every dollar she raises, every donation she makes, every phone call she quickly responds to. She has a heart for volunteerism and domestic abuse. Faith House is honored to present to you this year's Woman of the Year, Mrs. Mary Sanders.